Hello everyone, myself Kumar Ujjwal, and I have been teaching this optional political science and international relation for last 19 years. So today we are going to discuss why one should opt political science and international relation as an optional in the exam of civil services. As you know, many toppers have also suggested that how optional is holding the key role in selection, because in general studies among serious candidates the difference is low, but in optional the difference makes a difference. So in terms of selection, so our today's topic is why one should opt political science and international relation as an optional. So I will be giving 10 reasons why one should opt political science and international relation, whether one has studied it before or not, and how we'll also see that even those who have not this subject in their BA or MA, it is how it is blessing in disguise for those students who do not have this subject in their background. So I will discuss one by one. The firstly, the first reason why one should opt political science, although there are various optionals which you have to choose. In GS there is nothing to choose about, it is one and same for all, compulsory, level playing field. In SA it is one and same for all, but in optional it is strategic decision, and it's that decision is so much strategic that will ultimately make a huge difference among serious candidates in terms of selection. So firstly, convergence with general studies. If I talk about convergence with जनरल स्टडीज, मीन्स जनरल स्टडीज के पेपर में और पॉलिटिकल साइंस एंड इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन ऑप्शनल, there are so much similarities and convergence that there is no other optional which is even nearby to pol science in terms of convergence of general studies with general studies. I demonstrate. First of all, in GS you will find 4 papers. First paper is on Indian history, culture and geography. Second paper is that polity, constitution, governance, social justice and international relation. And you see international relation here, it is in optional, there is nothing to choose about. The whole second paper converges with political science. I tell you, in political science there are 2 papers, 1 and 2. In paper 1 there are 2 sections, section A and B. Section B is called Indian government and politics, where whole constitution, whole polity, governance is covered. You have to not study social justice, which is there in general studies. You have to study various theories of justice in pol science, like procedural justice, substantive justice, numerical justice, proportional justice, Rawls theory of justice, economic justice, political justice, social justice, retributive justice, distributive justice, procedural justice. So you have to study the whole international relation, which is fully covered by it. So 100% of the paper second is covered by political science and international relation. That by dint of opting this optional, you are covering 100% of the general studies paper 2, where there is nothing to choose about, that carries 250 marks. Not only that, even if you see Indian history and culture, geography is also there, so they are also interlinked. For example, if you study Indian national movement, it is there in Indian government and politics, Indian national movement. So modern India is covered by political science optional in general studies. Even in ancient period, You study about Dharmasastra tradition, Buddhist tradition, that is there also in pol science. So Brahminical tradition, Buddhist tradition also covered in history and culture. Partly ancient India is also covered. Medieval India is not covered, no doubt. But modern India is fully covered. Indian National Movement, INM. So national movement, Indian national movement is fully covered in political science and international relation. IGP, as I said, political science is an international relation, is having two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1, section A is having political theory, ideologies, thinkers. Section B is Indian government and politics, and in Indian government and politics you have Indian national movement and constitution, polity, governance, all these are covered. Geography is indirectly covered because geopolitics is there. So geopolitics of Indian Ocean, geopolitics of South China Sea, Asia Pacific region, IOR and all that. So partly covering political science syllabus. Paper 3, if you see, that includes economy. There are various components which are converging with this, be it fiscal policy, monetary policy, international economy like IMF, World Bank, WTO, environmental issues. They are also covered in your syllabus of political science and international relation. So ultimately, political science and international relations subject covers these topics as well of economy. And here also there is disaster management, internal security. So security, be it internal security, external security, collective defense, is studied in political science and international relation. So partly this is also covered. And if you go to paper 4, that is ethics. If you see the question paper of ethics, it will be appearing as if it is partly a political science subject. For example, the various idealistic thinkers like Gandhi, Plato, they are being directly asked in the paper of ethics. Like one time question has been asked, the statement of Abraham Lincoln, that if you want to test the character of a person, give him power. And Aristotle says power corrupts, and everlasting power corrupts everlastingly. Power corrupts power holders. So in ethics you have to study, for example, compassion. In Buddhist tradition and political science syllabus, you have to study compassion, empathy, sympathy. Here also you have to study probity, transparency, against corruption. Here in the Dharmasastra tradition you study against corruption. In governance, the biggest enemy of governance is corruption. So that is also covered. So if you find in ethics also a huge portion is covered by political science and international relation itself. So what I'll tell you that how political science, every topic which is mentioned in the syllabus of political science and international relation is directly or indirectly covered by general studies. So it is a great asset, because suppose you are studying two nation theory for general studies, the question may not be there in general studies, but it may there be in pol science paper, or it may be possible that it may be asked in both places. Similarly, if you study, for example, fundamental rights for political science, then the question on fundamental rights in general studies would be appearing very simple. As I told that in political science and international relation, there are two papers. Paper 1 is having section A. Section A consists of theories. Theories are systematic study of political process or phenomenon, and having both part, the philosophy part, which is value laden, and science part, that is factual, empirical, observation based. So in philosophy, political philosophers you have to study, Western political thinkers you have to study. So theories also cover the theories on liberty, equality, justice, democracy, sovereignty, state. So all these are directly or indirectly covered. Moreover, in Western thinkers, you have to study Plato, Aristotle, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, Karl Marx, J.S. Mill, then Hannah Arendt. So they are Western political thinkers which are providing the base for further studies. Then Indian thinkers, Gandhi, Ambedkar, Arvindo, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Buddhist tradition, Dharmashastra tradition, all they are there. Section B, as I told, is Indian government and politics. That is a mixture of both the polity, the constitution, the governance, and that of Indian national movement. Besides that, you have to study here, for example, planning and economic development. That is also there in pol science syllabus. You have to study casteism, communalism, regionalism here, feminism. All these ideologies are very important. Section B, that is international relation, is having comparative politics, which is highly scoring, because here you have to study almost world history and international relation. For example, Cold War, non-alignment movement, regional organizations, theories of international relation, like idealist theory, realist theory. So the key concepts like national power, national interest, collective security, collective defense, balance of power, all these are a part and parcel of the international relation, as well as the world history of paper 1 of general studies, as well as political science syllabus. And again, section B is fully covering India and world, the general studies, India and world portion of political science and international relation covers India's engagement with the rest of the world in bilateral framework like Indo-Pak, Indo-China, Indo-US, Indo-Russia relationship, in regional framework like ASEAN, like European Union, like SAARC, NAFTA, SAFTA, and multilateral framework like United Nations, IMF, World Bank, WTO. So you will find that the whole syllabus of political science, directly or indirectly touching general studies paper. Can you name any other optional which is even nearby to political science and international relation in terms of this convergence? So this is the first point. Why one should opt political science and international relation? Because you can see other side of the coin. Even if you don't opt political science and international relation, even then you have to study this subject in general studies. So at the content level it is one and same. Yes, at elaboration level in optional you have to be adding more and more theoretical part. In GS part you have to go for more and more applied part. But at the information level it is not going to change. Will it change? Will the contents of Article 21 change? That right to life and personal liberty except the procedure established by law, which has been converted into due process of law. Will it change in optional and GS? Not at all. Will the national movement will change? No. Yes, perspective. Like in national movement, you have to be more specific here in pol science, like liberal perspective, the socialist perspective, the communist perspective, the Dalit perspective. All these perspectives of national movement you have to study. So this is the first reason why one should opt political science and international relation. First reason, convergence. If we go to the second reason, why one should opt political science and international relation, second reason is the essay paper. Essay paper carries 250 marks, and by dint of opting political science and international relation, you will definitely get topic in essay paper. Like what are asked, what are the topics in essay paper? If you go through the essays which has been asked over the period of time, you will find topics of globalization, women empowerment, corruption, administration, then the People's Representation Act, the reforms, political reforms, all these has been asked. That is carrying 250 marks. That is also very important. And in essay, for scoring, first and foremost thing is the availability of information, the knowledge, the concepts. In civil services exam, unlike other exams, lower exams, the more important thing is not fact but concept. Concept is not real, it is based on ideas. It is how you understand. Knowledge may be possible by cramming also, but here the knowledge is not based on cramming or only information, but analytical knowledge and the presentation, conceptualization, picturization, ideas that you develop upon it, and how you apply it. So in essay paper, I'm not saying that you take it for granted and don't prepare essay separately, but by dint of opting political science and international relation, you have advantage, because advantage are dual. You will find the paper. There will be definite political topic and there will be definite two political topic. One on domestic politics and another on international politics. There may be other social issues also. There may be other purely economic issues also. Philosophical issues may be also asked in essay paper. But by dint of opting optional political science, you are covering the 250 marks of essay also. Third reason why one should opt political science and international relation is the interview. What is interview? Interview is a formal meeting with the purpose to ascertain the personality of the candidate and to see the suitability. Now, personality has various parameters, various dimensions. Not only knowledge, but presentation, your verbal expression, your non-verbal expression, your democratic attitude, your courage, your honesty, your firmness, balance of all are being tested. It's a formal meeting. It's not an informal meeting. You are not meeting a friend. So in interview, it is wide open. There is no defined syllabus. But over the time period, if you see the interview of students, so of successful candidates, you will find most of the topic of interview are political economy, either domestic political economy or the international political economy. Even the current affairs that you update, that you go through newspaper, magazines, listening news, in that also it is covered. So by dint of opting political science and international relation, first reason is convergence with general studies, second reason is essay, third reason is interview where there is nothing to choose about, it is all one and same for all. Fourth, it is highly interesting. Now, every subject is or may be interesting, but what makes political science different from how it is different from others in terms of being interesting? One may say no, this optional is also interesting, one may say no, that optional is more interesting. I'm not talking about different individuals may have different inclination and different interest, but the stimulus, the surroundings that make it more interesting, the condition, the milieu, the environment, how it makes it interesting. It is said that Indians, even illiterate Indians, may not be educated, but they are politically highly aware. Even chai pe charcha or in Nukkad or everywhere, political topics are discussed. International politics, domestic politics are discussed. In India, elections are a periodic phenomenon. It's not only general election for Lok Sabha and that of Vidhan Sabha, but periodically different states may have different elections and there are interpretations. So elections are festivals of democracy and the stimulus, because if you see newspaper, if you go through TV or you watch people around or you listen people around, even if you're traveling, even then political topics are being discussed. So the very milieu in which we are living, the environment in which we are living, we are constantly reinforced from the surroundings that stimulate our interest. So many things, by being dint of aware, you know various political topics from your surroundings. So that is a great advantage. In many other options, that input is not there. So this is why I tell you it is highly interesting, because the stimulus is there, the surroundings, the inputs, the milieu in which you are living, that makes this subject interesting, because various topics are, even if you are watching film, In film, there is talk of justice, there is talk of law, there is talk of politicians, there is talk of political parties, there is talk of the mobilization, mass mobilization, popularity. So those stimulus are quite enough to develop or raise the interest on this subject. So I am saying that it is highly interesting. Otherwise, the other subject may be also interesting. The fifth reason why I suggest students to opt political science, it is empirical, scientific in nature. I'm not saying all parts are empirical and scientific. There are philosophies also involved. There are value-laden subjective issues are also there. But if you see the development after Second World War, 1945 onwards, contemporary world history or contemporary world politics or politics after independence in India, then before Second World War, the center for study of politics was Europe. But after Second World War, it shifted to America and behavioralism came. Behavioralism means there was an attempt to make political studies fully scientific, fully empirical, fully factual, no philosophy, no values, no theories. So you will find that various scientific things are there, like system theory in this is borrowed from physics, like games theory from probability branch of mathematics, like communication theory from computer science, cybernetic theory of David Easton you will study, that is also there. So among social science subjects you will find that it is very much empirical, scientific. If you compare it with philosophy, in philosophy you have to study about various hypothetical things that you cannot verify, but it is not so here. Everything is before you. You are watching, you are seeing, you are observing, you are analyzing. So that is very make this they are interlinked points, that why it is interesting, because you are constantly getting stimulus from surroundings, and it is the nature of subject is scientific and empirical. And sixth point, why one should opt political science, highly scoring. You can Google it and find that in political science many times the students' choice of opting political science has the make the difference, and in GS the margin is less, but in political science the scoring rate is higher, and our students have also scored brilliantly. You already know that. So it's highly scoring means if you find that in general studies if you are getting less than 50% marks and you are not able to reach the cutoff, but in pol science you are getting 60% marks, for example, that deficit is compensated by the optional, because in optional it is easier to have command. One information I would like to give, that in political science from last 17 years there is no change in syllabus, it is 1 and 7. So one, you have command on this subject, then it is easier to reach out other topics. For example, if I tell you, if you have a strong grasp on this subject, then you study general studies. Even if you study, for example, environment, or you study climate change, or you study environmental issues, ecology, then it becomes easier because you have already studied here them as a political topic. Because whether it's Rio de Janeiro or this Earth Summit or World Summit on Sustainable Development or UNEP, that you study international governance. So highly scoring, that itself is a biggest factor for opting this optional. Then seventh is why one should availability of material and guidance. Availability of materials and guidance. If you see, there are availability of NCERT books. In many other subjects there is no NCERT books. So students takes longer gestation time period to clear their even basics and fundamentals. Sometimes even it takes 1.5 years to cover their basics. It is not so in pol science, because in 9th democratic politics 1, in 10th NCERT democratic politics part 2, then political theory, then contemporary world politics, then politics after independence. All these NCERTs are there, political theories, these all NCERTs are there in 9th, 11th, 12th, 6 NCERTs. So it will take very less time to clear your basics and fundamentals. So other materials are also available like IGNO material, and we have also developed a very scientific material purely based on the syllabus of civil services. So, and key points are given at the very beginning, so that when you study any topic, that all those key points first you study, so the crux is in your mind, and then you go through, and then it is easier to highlight the detailing of the matter. And then in the last, questions are being there which has been asked earlier, then space is there given, you can write answer. And we focus a lot on answer writing skill, because it is there in main you have to write in a word limit. So answer writing is also a strategic matter. It's not that anything topic that you see and just start writing like essay. No, here you have to see the tag word of the question, whether it says explain, whether it says elucidate, whether it says throw light upon, examine, critically evaluate, comment, right? So all these have different meanings, and then you have to ensure that what is the word limit, what is the time limit, locus and focus, what you have to write, what you have not to write, what you have to highlight. So locus, focus, time limit, word limit, introduction, body, conclusion. So answer writing, we focus a lot upon it, and each and every answer we go for checking and giving detailed remarks, so that the students can take corrective measures. Because many times you study the syllabus and you feel confident, yes I know, but when you see the question and twist of the question, then you start struggling from where to start, how to write. And so it is very strategic. So availability of materials is there, then guidance is there. Our material is also very means I won't say that our material is 100% perfect, no, but we have made and covered all topics as per the syllabus. So students have not to roam for this book or that publication or that publication. NCERT books and our material could be by and large sufficient. For more interest in studies and others, you can go for other things also. 8th, concise syllabus. Concise syllabus. If you see the syllabus, you will find concise syllabus means short syllabus. Now, one may argue that no, how it is concise, there are 10 topics in section A, 11 topics in section A, then again 11 topics in section A of comparative politics, then 8 topics in section B. So it is almost 40 topics, but let me tell you how it is concise. The same thing are repeated. For example, you study Karl Marx as a thinker, then again you have to study Marxism as ideology, then again you have to study Marxian theory of liberty, Marxian theory of justice, Marxian theory of equality, Marxian theory of international relation. So the same thing is covered at various places. Similarly, you study role of Gandhi in national movement, Gandhism as political ideology, and Gandhi as a political thinker. So the many things are getting repeated. Similarly, you study idealist theory, realist theory. You have to extrapolate in international relation what you study in domestic politics, because in realist theory you have to study power politics, safety, survival, self-help are the keywords. So they remain the same in second paper international relation. So various things are being repeated. You will find that it is there in ideology, it is there in theory, it is there in this ideology, then theory, then thinkers, then contribution in national movement. So, for example, if you study Dalit perspective of national movement, and you also study B.R. Ambedkar, you also study Indian national movement, you also study casteism. So, all are interlinked issues. So, the syllabus is very much concise. Once you study liberal theory, now the same liberal theory, liberal thinkers, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, positive liberal thinker, J.S. Mill, the same liberalism, capitalism carried forward by America in Cold War, capitalist world, liberalism, capitalism. So, it is very concise syllabus. In my opinion, it is the smallest syllabus. Don't be carried away by the topics, because topics almost are 40, but in my opinion there are only 20 topics you have to study. Means almost 50% things are repeated in a different language, and you have to keep in mind. For example, behavioralism, you study in paper 1, system theory, decision making theory, all these things you study, cybernetic theory, and then you have to apply the same in second paper as well. So it is very concise, and once you start moving, the process of learning will accelerate, and one platform of knowledge will help you in reaching out the other, and it is interlinked. For more examples I give, that if you study, for example, second paper international relation, then you have to study international governance, you have to study League of Nations, you have to study balance of power system, you have to study United Nations, you have to study international monetary governance, IMF, World Bank, WTO, all these things you have to study. So this is concise in syllabus. Then safest optional. Why I say safest? Because now safety in terms of what? Safety in terms of otherwise every optional is having 550 marks, every optional is having 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2. But there are speculations that optional may be done away with, not in 2, 3, 4 years, but 5 years down the line, whatsoever. That is not in our hand. Ultimately, that decision has to be taken by government on the recommendation of UPSC. Whatever may be the case, I take the worst case scenario. In good case scenario, optional will is here to stay, and there is no talk of safety, because in that case there is a level playing field. But if there is optional, even 2, 3, 4 years down the line is done away with, in worst case scenario, whatever you have studied in political science, they will be all used in the general studies compulsory papers, whatever. So your studies will not go in vain. Moreover, ultimately you have to work in political system. Let me tell you that the administration, public administration, has emerged from political science. You know, Woodrow Wilson is the father of public administration. So even if you work in administration, your political understanding, your understanding of knowledge, your knowledge of constitution, rule of law, international governance, because if you become IFS officer, if you have good knowledge of India and world international politics and IR world history, then you can be good IFS officer, which may not be the case if you have opted Sanskrit or Hindi literature or English literature as an optional, which may not be there even with sociology, philosophy and geography. So why I am saying it is safest, because your nature of job that you are going to perform in administration, be it being IAS officer, IPS officer, because what is the most important role of administrators? To uphold the rule of law. And what is the supreme law? Constitution. So without studying constitution, one cannot be and one should not be administrator. Similarly, you have to ultimately work in political system, so to uphold the rule of law, to ensure justice. As a magistrate, you have semi-judicial powers also. So have to ensure justice, you must have sense of justice. And if you don't know what is justice, how will do that? So ultimately, the various theories of justice you have to study in political science and international relation. So that also is very much interesting. For example, Rawls' theory of justice has not been repeatedly asked only in optional, but also in ethics paper of general studies. So even it has been asked in interview. So this makes it the safety net that this subject is providing. I don't think any other optional would be providing. Finally, Ujjwal IAS Academy has developed over the time period of time. It is known for optional political science. We have developed over the period of time so many innovative techniques. Our role is what? See, syllabus is one and same for all. Almost materials are available. Now is the day of internet, so there is no dearth of material. But how to study? What to study is one and same for all. But how to study and how techniques makes a difference. Our work is to simplify the things. We have developed so many time tested techniques like coding, mnemonic based coding, so that you can recall the things with clinical accuracy on the D-Day. Many students might have studied a lot, but they are not able to recall and present the things with accuracy and speed in exam. Then all studies go in vain. So we focus a lot on presentation, on clinical accuracy, on exact approach and exact word limit, on writing skill and coding frameworking. Framework is very important. Framework will fix the locus, boundaries, what not to write. Many times the students start writing and in the flow they are writing even those things which has not been asked. So you are not there to demonstrate your knowledge. You are there to answer the question. There is a difference between essay writing and answer writing that you must be knowing. So if you are not able to write answer lucid in a lucid manner, why? It's not that luck factor will make the difference. The factor which will make the difference is framework. If framework is clear in mind, I will be giving two framework, paper 1, framework 1, paper 2, framework 2, and all things will be revolving around the framework, so you can see the things holistically. You will have command and confidence that examiner cannot ask a thing outside from this syllabus, from this framework. This is the boundary. This is all the questions are asked within them. So if you have such kind of confidence, then it will be a cakewalk. Then technique means skill, particular way of doing a thing. So smart way of doing thing, hard work will not do, smart work will do. So for smart work we have developed so many techniques like coding, frameworking, classification, correlation, picturization, visualization, contextualization. If you are studying anything, for example, if you are studying fascism, Nazism, and you are not going into the picture of First World War and the situation prevailing in Europe after First World War, then you will not be able to picturize and visualize the things. So that will be superficial study, and unless you have command, merely knowledge will not do. I tell you, for success in civil services, knowledge is not self-sufficient. Your thinking, understanding, your analytical power, the ideas, your concepts, they are more important than merely knowledge. So you have to go beyond knowledge. So for knowledge, for retention, for information also techniques must be there, for picturization, for contextualization. So all these taken together, it's not a one strategy or one technique, multi-dimensional technique, multi-pronged approach, multi-dimensional understanding, and by this you can crack the exam easily. Because for cracking civil services exam, whether at the union level or the state level, I also believe that optional play the key role, and it is a very important decision of your career. So those important decision of your career, so those who are beginners, those who are starting, those who are thinking that what to opt, what to not opt, don't blindly follow me also. Don't blindly follow anyone. Have the pen and paper, put the syllabus, whatever I have said, that put the paper of general studies, past 10 years or 20 years, essay paper, then interview the things or material that you have with the interview, put them together and verify the things. Don't blindly follow anything, verify the things. And I tell you that enthusiasm and aggression of learning of those students who have not studied political science earlier is more. So we will see that highest score in political science has been fetched by students who have not the background in political science. So the point is aggression of learning, enthusiasm of learning, the empirical way of thinking, because in academics you have to write thesis. Here you have not to write thesis. Many times your baggage, your hangover or of BA, MA, PhD, that is waste. You have to write in 250 words, 200 words, to be very specific, to be very precise. So this is different format. If you play the cricket in 2020 format in the same way as you play it in test, then you will not be getting success. So try to understand the format of the exam. Here is this exam, format of the exam, the nature of the questions, and see the difference in pattern. Earlier there were questions before 2011 which there are questions, long questions, 60 marks question. Now it is not the case. Now it is that is divided into 3 parts, 20 20 20, section A, B, C, in within a question A, B, C. So nowadays it is more specific. Nowadays it is more precise. You have to be more lucid. You have you have not to use ornamental or flowery language, let me tell you, because not as a literature paper. You have to write in a simple language, easy to understand language, but at the same time to maintain the lucidness means you have to be lucid, you have to be precise, you have to fulfill the requirement of the question, and then only you can fetch marks. So fetching marks is also an art. Many times you might have seen that many students are studying a lot, but they are not fetching marks. Some students are studying less, but they are fetching more marks. So answer writing, I repeatedly say, answer writing is holding the key in this optional, in every option, but in this option answer writing is holding the key. And don't get overburdened. Even if you write one answer daily, one, not more than that, because if you write too many answers in a day and rest of the days you are not writing anything, you will not be able to grasp and picturize. So what I suggest, even if you write one answer daily of pole science and international relation, that will be quite enough to develop approach to crack the exam of civil services. All the best. We'll be formally starting the optional batch from tomorrow. Thank you.